I think the biggest struggle for a lot of e-commerce companies right now is to decide what change is structural versus what change is ephemeral and is going to go away.
Which sectors of the economy are doing well during and after COVID-19? Who are hiring and scaling their companies right now? And most importantly, how? Hi, my name is Andre Chandra, founder and CEO of Propelo Media. In today's Ask an Expert series, I sat down with Peter Keller of FringeSport, an Austin-based company that helps workout enthusiasts build home gyms and also helps entrepreneurs build community gym businesses. While I believe that the economy as a whole is not a zero-sum game, the field is fluid, creating booms and busts depending on what you do. Peter's company and e-commerce in general are thriving during and after the shelter in place. However, top-line growth does not necessarily mean the industry is not fraught with uncertainties. Listen to our wide-ranging conversation on working out at home, e-commerce, logistics, and scaling sustainably even in the midst of a storm. Peter Keller from FringeSport, thank you for joining the show today. How are you?
I am fantastic. It's my great pleasure to be with you today, Andre.
All right. Well, thank you. Likewise. Can you introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit more about FringeSport?
I would love to. My name is Peter Keller, and I believe in strength. I'm the CEO of a company called FringeSport. We exist to help people improve lives through strength. And the way that we do that is we help people build amazing garage gyms, and we help other people, entrepreneurs, build thriving local community gyms. Think about your neighborhood CrossFit or powerlifting gym, that sort of thing. And the way we do that is by providing great gear, barbells, squat racks, kettlebells, that sort of thing, at a great price and backing it with world-class customer support.
Got it. Got it. Now, I just visited your website this morning, and there's a banner saying zombie apocalypse. We are experiencing massive order volume and stockouts and delays may be possible. Can you share a little bit how COVID has impacted you, both personally and business-wise?
Yeah, absolutely. Personally, it has introduced a ton of uncertainty. What is going on? Everybody has talked about black swan events and things like that. And now that something like it is here, nobody knows what to do. Should I wear a mask? Should I stay at home? Can I go out and do economic activity? Nobody really knows. But the way that it has impacted us, we're based out of Austin, Texas, and we are a direct consumer brand. So you could also call us e-commerce, something like that. Austin, although it has been impacted by COVID, our little corner of it has been a little less impacted than, let's say, a major city like New York City or something like that. However, at the same time, where across the country, commercial gyms have been forced to shut down, the garage gyms time has come. So as COVID has made a lot of people stay home and not be able to work out, do their favorite bench press, do their favorite on the treadmill at 24 Hour Fitness or Gold's, they have come to us to build a garage gym or a home gym. And what that actually looks like, I'll tell you a quick story about it. When COVID started to hit us in Austin, I didn't really know what was going on. Everybody was trying to read the tea leaves and see what's going on. I had heard from a lot of my friends who own restaurants that they were laying off servers, bartenders, wait staff, all of that stuff. And I was thinking, okay, how's this going to affect us? And we're on Shopify, that's our platform.
Mm-hmm.
And our volume was going up. One day it was amazing. And the next day it was higher. And then the day after that, even higher. And so at that point, I called up one of my good friends. I'm in an organization called EO. I know you are as well. Called up one of my EO friends. And I said, hey, have you laid off anyone who's amazing who can't work for you right now? And she said, oh, I've got bartenders. I've got waiters. These guys are sharp. but there's nothing to do. And so I said, send me them all over. And so we just started boom, 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 hiring and getting them into our warehouse, teaching them how to lift up a box at point A, slap a label on it, move it to point B, and then boom, UPS takes it from there. So for us, my heart goes out to all the people who are, first of all, affected in their health, sickness or even death with COVID. We're dealing with that, a little bit too as well. However, our business has never been stronger. It's been absolutely insane since the beginning of March, carrying through to as we talk right now in June.
Right, right. Well, you mentioned hiring, but you have to do this in the middle of a pandemic. So much more complicated was it? Not only trying to scale and hire people, but at the same time, maybe people are worried about, the disease spreading, right?
Absolutely. I tell you what, for us, again, we're a direct consumer brand. So we have a lot of people in the office or virtual office now who actually don't need to be geographically in the office. And so very early on, the decision that we made that we're still operating under right now is if you can work from home, go work from home. Don't come into the office. If you have to come into the office, let's say you're on the shipping team and you're going to ship product out, then we're going to pay you a little bit of hazard pay. We're going to make sure that we have as much sanitation as we can possibly have. And if you remember in those early days, it was very hard even to get cleaning supplies because everyone was hoarding them. And so what happened, another funny story there, is one night after work, I was complaining to my wife because I said, oh, we're running really low on hand sanitizer. I'm really worried because the guys at the office need the hand sanitizer for literally their health. And so my wife got on our neighborhood's Facebook page and she said, hey, does anybody have hand sanitizer? And there was actually a trampoline park, where you drop your kids off and it's an indoor park with a bunch of different trampolines. They were closed due to the COVID crisis, and they had all of their sanitation stuff. They had just received a shipment of it in prior to closing. And they said, hey, FringeSport, we will sell you all of our sanitizer. You can have it. And I said, done. We take it. And so we got it and got it to the office. But back to the hiring, we had to be very, of course, upfront and honest with people. I think that we have a very good place to work. We have a very strong benefits package. We also have an aggressive pay for a warehouse worker here in Austin. But we had to be honest with people coming on board. This is a pandemic. We're not sure what's going on right now. We're going to take all possible measures and follow all the best practices that we hear to try and keep you safe. And by the way, if you do get sick, we're going to take care of you at that point. But we don't exactly know what that's going to look like right now. So to some extent, you're going to have to trust us, come on board, and then we're going to figure things out as they go.
Right.
Now, once we got them hired and on board, and by the way, our hiring process was quite a bit less strict than it was normally because our volume had just gone kaboom. So I've heard before of companies that say, hey, if you can fog a mirror, you're hired. I will say that we kind of did that, with the exception that I was reaching out to a lot of my friends in my entrepreneurship group saying, hey guys, I know it's very tough for everyone. I know you guys carry your great employees in your heart. If you've had to lay off somebody who's great, give them my number. And then we were just hiring essentially based on referrals. We weren't even really interviewing people, just saying, hey, Peter knows somebody or somebody knows somebody who vouches for this person. Let's bring them on board, and then we'll teach them as best we can once they get here, and then we'll go from there.
Gotcha. Yeah. So hiring through referrals, I've heard that time and time again, that's one of the best ways to actually scale your company. And especially right now, I think, a lot of people are more available than ever. Now, Peter, e-commerce is definitely one of the biggest benefactors of the shelter in place, right? And But how about and you pivoted really quickly and hired a lot of people from referrals. But how about the supply chain side of things? We've been hearing that borders go up. It's harder than ever to get supplies. So can you elaborate a little bit more on that, the other side?
Oh man, supply chain. Everything is interlinked, right?
Right.
As you mentioned earlier in this call, when you look at the website right now, which is where most of our business comes from, we're addressing it with a little bit of humor, zombie apocalypse, rather than saying pandemic or something like that, because that's part of who we are, is we take strength and lifting seriously, but we have fun while we're doing it. We're hardcore, but approachable, a little quirky, a little weird, a little fun. That said, as far as the supply chain goes, if you don't have a good supply chain, then you're just dead in the water at this point. So one of the things that I will mention about that is we source multinationally. So we have a USA first sourcing policy. Whenever we want to design and specify a barbell, a squat rack, something like that, we always look to the USA first. And right now, the US portion of the supply chain has really been hurt badly. So not only us, but many other, of course, strength and conditioning equipment companies have had this highly increased demand. So the US supply has been really stressed
Hmm.
because most of the factories and the machine shops and companies like that we rely upon to produce our equipment here in the US, they just don't have the ability to scale at the rate that they need to meet demand. And they're also, of course, operating under the pandemic as well.
Right.
That said, some of our overseas partners have already been through the worst of the pandemic. So for example, we source some barbells from Taiwan that are really awesome, high quality barbells, and Taiwan was one of the countries that had their what together pretty early on.
Right.
So that supply chain is pretty unaffected. Additionally, containers moving on the ocean has not really been affected that badly. And then even China, which they call China the world's workshop, that China was affected very badly for a while, but then they recovered fairly quickly. And now at least the factory partners that we're dealing with are back up to full speed. So long story short, we've had our supply chain struggles. The largest of those supply chain struggles have been with our US suppliers and manufacturers, but people seem to be coming back on board as far as the supply goes. It's just demand has been crazy. And if you told me tomorrow that the demand is going to drop back to normal, then I would say, first of all, I'd say you're crazy, but I would say, who knows? I'll just have to wake up tomorrow and see, because I think a lot of people's anxiety over COVID is really going to dictate how the demand is for, home gyms specifically, but then e-commerce generally, which has seen a bump up because of people having to shelter in place or not wanting to interact directly with other people.
Right, right. So you sense that the bottleneck is really in the manufacturing and production, but there's no problem with customs or transport and the logistics side of things.
We've not seen any problem there on the inbound. Now that you mention it, though, I will mention a little bit on the outbound side. So when I mean that, excuse me, when I say that, what I mean is we've generally speaking not had problems getting product to our warehouse here in Austin, Texas. However, going outbound through small parcel, whether it be UPS, FedEx, or the Postal Service, we have seen some bottlenecks there.
Mhm.
I'll give kudos to UPS, who is our number one partner for small parcel. They had some issues at the very start, but they seem to have worked through those bottlenecks for the most part. But UPS, FedEx, and the Postal Service are running more slowly than they normally would run because the volume has been increased through them. So we are seeing some bottlenecks there early on as well. Let's say in March to through April, we were seeing some real problems from workers for UPS that were complaining about unsafe situations. And obviously, although UPS is a completely different company than my company, you hate to see a partner that their employees feel unsafe while working for them.
Right.
Amazon also had some complaints about this early on as well, but I've not heard any recently.
Right, right. Well, as you mentioned, these companies, everything's interlinked, especially nowadays with the modern global economy, right?
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned 24-hour fitness earlier, and I think I read in the news either the international branches or the US one. I forgot exactly, but they declared bankruptcy or asking for uh, bankruptcy protection. Now, retail has been struggling even before COVID-19, right? And not only places that sell items, but also retail locations that have people congregate indoors, so restaurants and gyms. Um, how do you see the new normal shake out? Even as state and businesses have kind of reopened cautiously.
Wow. Asking me to predict the future like that is crazy to me right now. Who knows what's going to happen? But here's what I'll tell you what I think is happening. Let's start with fitness, and then we'll broaden a little bit more broader than that.
Sure.
I think that there's going to be a fundamental shift in how people view going to the gym or using gyms. Gyms are going to be looked at as a much more risky proposition than they were before, for the very fact that they bring many people together in a enclosed environment. There's bodily fluid transfer, possibly. People do a bench press and then maybe they don't wipe the back, so there's sweat hanging around. I think that that's going to be a very scary proposition to many people for a long time.
Hmm.
Let's even think that there's a vaccine for COVID, or there's herd immunity or something like that. I still think that our human memory of this situation is going to keep us from wanting to engage in events like that as much as we did previously. So there's that. I think that that's also going to continue this process that my company has been seeing of people building gyms in their garages or in their homes. They can control the environment. They can invite in anyone they want to invite in, or force out anyone that they don't want to come in. Additionally, with that, I think that a lot of brands are going to be leveraging the internet to help connect people in training, and also give people the programming that they need to train. So, for example, look at Peloton from a biking company. So, not only are they providing people the actual workout gear, whether it be the Peloton bike, the treadmill, they're also providing programming, which tells people what to do with those devices. And then they're providing the community. So, even though you're training in your garage or in your living room or something like that, you feel connected to a broader community of people that are training. So I think that's where the fitness world is going. Already was to some extent going there, but this is going to push a lot more volume there.
Right.
Now, as far as more broadly, man, every day I think about this. Before we started recording, you and I were talking about sending our kids to summer camp, and how something that is fundamental. I mean, I went to summer camp when I was a kid, but now when I think about sending my kids to summer camp, I immediately think, well, no, I'm not going to do that. And at some point, we need to come back to that. I think a lot of it depends on how fast we get either a vaccine or herd immunity or something like that for COVID. But I think we're still in this for a long haul. I think that 2020 is for sure going to be the year of COVID. 2021 maybe as well. Who knows?
Right. Right. And I think that's really the sad part. Even though businesses are reopening as we speak, the market may not be ready to meet that supply, right? So the demand may not be there yet. Um, Now, another kind of post-COVID question here. Um, in terms of strategies, in your particular industry, maybe it's not necessarily a comeback strategy or a rebound strategy, but what what signals are e-commerce companies looking for? And as an e-commerce company, what are you, what kind of signal you're looking for, and what will you do when you see that signal?
Great question. I think the biggest struggle for a lot of e-commerce companies right now is to decide what change is structural versus what change is ephemeral and is going to go away. So
Hmm.
structural change, meaning changes that are here to stay. Ephemeral changes, meaning it's here for a little while. We just have to deal with it for a little while and then it'll go away.
Hmm.
So I think that's what everyone is looking for. So for example, for me, our business was up massively in the first month after COVID hit. And now, just to share, it is up still very large, although not quite as large as it was when COVID just hit. So one of the decisions for me to make as a leader in the business is, who do I hire? How do I build around this? Do I assume that this natural increase in volume is locked in and going to continue, and that's our new normal, and then we're going to be growing further on top of that? Or do I think that that's going to go away at some point?
Right.
And do I, not bring on permanent employees to deal with that? What I would tell you is something that I think about a lot is, can I make decisions that no matter what happens are good decisions? So one of the things that I've been doing a lot is reminding my team, number one, that this is a marathon, not a sprint. If they feel that they're super stressed out or quote unquote killing themselves over a volume increase that's happening right now, that's not healthy. We have to remove that burden, whether by improving systems or hiring more people or something like that. Now, on the other hand, let's imagine that we have, which we do, some processes that are fundamentally broken right now. And as we've scaled, it's thrown light on the fact that the process is broken. We need to fix that process. And whether the volume stays at the level that it's at or grows, or if the volume recedes a little bit, fixing a broken process is almost always a good idea. So right now, one of the things that we're doing is we're looking at all these areas of the business that have processes that broke with the scale and fixing those. Because again, no matter what happens, I'm not going to be sad that we fixed a broken process.
Right.
So I would say a few other things that we're looking at is we're looking at trying to predict what our demand mix is going to look like in the future. I had mentioned to you earlier that we exist to build amazing garage gyms and to help entrepreneurs grow thriving local community gyms. Well, the garage gymmers right now, they need help building gyms, getting equipment, stuff like that. However, the community gym owners are suffering right now. And so what we're trying to figure out as a company is, how do we help, still keep our focus on the garage gymmers who need us, but right now there's a portion of our community that's suffering even more. How do we get them the help that they need right now in the time they need it? And we've got some solutions, but I'm open to more.
Right. Well, what you just mentioned is definitely something that we talked about a lot in EO, or we both belong in that organization, how to scale your company in a sustainable way, and how to be able to differentiate what's temporary and what's permanent. Great. Now, Peter, is there anything else that I haven't asked you that you'd like to share?
There's not anything else necessarily, but I want to give a real quick, I want to preach the gospel of strength really quickly.
Preach it.
So a couple of things. When we saw that the demand for our garage gym equipment was increasing so much, especially early in the COVID period, I at first was a little flummoxed. Like, why is this happening? Why is it so high? And one of the things that I realized was when you have a kettlebell in your house or your apartment, when you have a bench and a squat rack, a barbell, you can at least control that.
Mm.
And so we were helping not only people's physical strength, but also their emotions. They didn't know what was going to happen with COVID, but they did know that no matter what, they can work out in their garage.
Right.
So that's something that we think is really precious for people to try and control the things that they control.
Mm.
The other thing is scientific studies clearly show that stronger people live longer, happier, healthier lives. So I'm not an expert in COVID. I don't know all that much about it. But I don't know much more than you or a normal person would know. But what I do know, and I won't quote the studies, but it's backed by scientific studies, is that if you're all else being equal, if that you're a little bit stronger, you're generally speaking going to live longer, you're generally speaking going to be happier, and you're generally speaking going to be healthier. And right now, in this uncertain time with COVID, that is more valuable than many, many other things. So, if anyone watching this is really interested in how they can become stronger, it's not as hard as you think. And I'm not even making this a pitch for us to sell you something. We have a lot of free resources on our website about how to build free, completely free strength and conditioning equipment from stuff that you can either get from a local home improvement store or maybe just stuff around your house, and then what to do with it. One of the things that I often end in emails that I send out to our customers and our clients is lift heavy, lift happy.
Mm.
And that's what I really would like people to do. So that's the only thing other that I would mention is that stronger people, all else equal, live longer, happier, healthier lives. It's not as hard to get a little bit stronger as you might think it is.
Right. Right. Well, Peter, this has been very enlightening. Thank you again for joining the show. I think entrepreneurs and small businesses are the backbones of the country, and companies that are doing well, like you, help keep our economy from going over the cliff. So I just want to wish you continued success, the best of luck, and I personally believe that there's light at the end of this tunnel. So hopefully the whole country can come out of this together. It will be different for sure, but there's going to be an end to this.
Totally agree. And every what is it? Every ending is a new beginning as well.
Well spoken. Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much, Peter.
A pleasure, Andre. Be
All
well.
right.